Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome once again to another episode of CasualCraft. I'm your host RedRipz, and we're back here today on Belshire Vestige for another PvZ game. Now, here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the Protoss Master League player, Lightsider. Yeah, here he is right here now, building up some probes. And in the top left corner of Belshire Vestige, we have DJHelium, the Zerg player, also in Masters League. We've got some good manners coming out here straight away from Mr. DJHelium, and yeah, it's looking like we could be getting off to a pretty cool little start here. So yeah, not seeing anything interesting out the players initially, so no 6 pools or anything daft like that. It looks like we'll be waiting a few minutes before we see exactly what's coming out the players here. Now, the first pylon's gone down for Lightsider here. This isn't on the low ground or anything like that, so I wouldn't imagine he's going to be forge fast expanding or anything quite like that, because normally you'd build a pylon up here somewhere or down here and then start building the forge and walling in with cannons and stuff. However, as it stands, it does look like he's just going to be sitting here in his base. He's trying to boost out some probes, and that's all very tasty there for him. Yeah, well, today I'm to be honest, I'm absolutely boiling once again. However, the temperature's dropped considerably. It's been absolutely thundering it down outside with rain. This is fairly traditional British weather, so yeah, we're back with the crappy weather once again in Britain. However, it is still really warm. We are seeing Gateway first coming in here out of Lightsider. This to me would suggest that he's probably going to be going for some sort of early pressure, or maybe he's just going to play defensively. I mean, it's not really early pressure build per se, but there's no sort of, he's not going Nexus first or anything really ridiculous. He's also taking 2 gases, which to me suggests some tech would be on the way. Meanwhile, we've seen a hatchery first here out of DJHelium, up at the top end of the map now. This, again, fairly standard stuff. However, this could fall to the Protoss build if he's not careful. As obviously, it's a really late pool comes out behind that. Essentially, the Zerg player here has taken an earlier base. This allows him to get his economy up much sooner, and you should be able to produce more units later in the game. However, our friend Lightsider here is already getting down his Cybernetics core, and this actually looks a lot like a 4-gate build. He's stopped the Vespene Geyser here at the top, as you only need 1 of those in your 4-gate. And then we've got the Cybernetics core and a single gateway down. So we'll see where he goes with this. It's looking very 4-gatey right now, although that'll be quite interesting really, as we don't really see that many 4-gates anymore, except in well, in my own play, because I'm useless at Protoss. But hey, that's one of those things, I guess. Now actually, we are seeing a probe come down here now, so perhaps we might be seeing a less. Yep, there we are. Nexus after that. So we're seeing a gateway expand here with a Cybernetics core thrown in the middle. I'd imagine we would be seeing some warp gate research here out of Lightsider. So it's not quite as aggressive as I first thought. He's obviously getting his mothership core out now as well there in his first base here. Meanwhile, as the second finishes up, so I'm guessing we will just be getting some sort of average sort of macro build here out of Lightsider. It's really difficult to tell at this early stage of the game. Meanwhile, the second base here is finished up with DJHelium. He's macroing up some gas here. I'd imagine this would be going on Zergling speed. It's typical sort of first upgrade, unless he's going to rush out muters or something like that if he rushes into the hive tech. We're not really seeing any particular scouting from either player yet. I don't think have we even explored down here. Yeah, we've seen the second base there. We've not seen any of the main base there though for Lightsider. Meanwhile, at the top of the map, I don't think, no, Lightsider's not actually scouted at all yet, so he's got absolutely no idea what DJHelium's up to. Luckily, it's nothing too aggressive. There's no early pools or anything coming out like that. We're just seeing Spinecrawler down at the front, because obviously he doesn't quite know what's going on, and we'll see where he goes from here. Meanwhile, we're seeing more gateways down at the front here for Lightsider. This is, yeah, fairly standard manoeuvre. We're getting warp gates out. We're seeing the first sentries come and block the ramp, so I think we will be seeing a slightly later sort of 2-base macro build coming here out of Lightsider, who's now transferring his probes down to his second mineral line here, and we'll continue producing those as normal. We're seeing the rest of the gateway wall in here at the front. This is, against Zergs, obviously always a really good idea. Essentially use the buildings to tank the damage of the Zerglings and block off this little gap here using a sentry, although he's actually just going to wander up the map anyway. We're actually seeing a lot of moving out here from the probes here. We're seeing little forward pylons and stuff coming down out of Lightsider here. I wonder if we might be seeing some not early pressure, but like just some poking around to see what's going on here out of him, as he has bothered moving all the way to the map here with the mothership core. However, it is known that mothership cores do fall straight up to queens if they go one-on-one in an engagement. So yeah, I wouldn't really expect much pressure out of that really, unless we get a lot more troops in here for Lightsider, who is at the moment just going to be sitting back a bit. He's not actually going to be defending this front wall. I guess he's assuming that the Zerg player isn't going to come in, as any Zerg player could literally just run in a whole bunch of links here and start eating up all these probes. It's sort of standard Zerg stuff. We're seeing a bunch of Lings wandering around around here. They're being chased by the mothership core, although actually, is there anything there? Yeah, we're seeing a zealot warped in at the front now, just to stop those from running directly in. Although there's no actual cannons here, so given enough time, these lings should actually be able to push through this zealot, as long as he doesn't have any support anyway. So we'll see how this goes, although however now with a sentry coming in here behind this should be really easy to hold off here for Lightsider. There shouldn't really be too much in the way of problems. He does have to put some sort of pressure on the lings to stop them from taking down these gateways, but as long as he gets a few troops out and starts killing them off, he should be absolutely fine. There shouldn't really be too much of an issue here. Meanwhile, the third base of DJHelium is being attacked there by a sentry. It's going to be very, very gradually tickled to death, as sentries do absolutely no damage whatsoever. The lings are actually going to pull back now to try and deal with that, as you've probably seen on the mini-map there. Meanwhile, we're not really seeing anything particularly exciting out there. We did see, I forgot to mention actually, we did see an earlier Stargate out from our Protoss player. I forget where it went, there it was. I noticed that before, at the top didn't actually say, but we're going to be seeing some Phoenixes out here, and this is all very standard Protoss-y stuff against Zerg these days. What you can do is you can send the Phoenixes around, and they've got a spell that can pick up single units. So what you do is you go around each of the Zerg bases, pick up the Queen, which is a really important unit for Zerg macro, and then just shoot them. And that's absolutely fine. They can't really do anything. They're disabled while they're in the air, and that's kind of how that one goes. Meanwhile, we're seeing double evolution chamber coming out behind this for DJHelium. He's going to be moving now to defend the third base here. As Lightsider does move in on the attack, although actually the lings are going to be get reasonably good surround on the troops there. Although actually they're not really going to be able to do too much damage because there's so many zealots here, and zealots are really, really strong against lings. And it does look like the spine crawler should be straight up falling as well, with very, very little effort here really from Lightsider. The time warp there was okay, but I don't really think it was all that necessary. It did help him perhaps pick off a few more lings, and meanwhile the third base of DJHelium has completely fallen now. So we'll see where this one goes. Meanwhile, we've got in the second base now. He's moving in here with Lightsider here. We're moving in with the zealots here, and yeah, I think he's just going to go through these lings without very much bother. Really, he's not managed. Unfortunately, DJHelium couldn't quite take down the sentry there, which was really unfortunate of him. Although now we might be seeing some roaches coming out from here that should help clear this up. Although it's just looking pretty bad here. Really, we've got a nice surround with the probes, although they're not actually attack moving, they've just been halted, so that's a bit of an issue there really, as currently they were doing absolutely nothing other than dying, as holding the zealots in place without doing any damage didn't really aid in any way. These roaches should however be able to clear this up, although they will need the help of a Queen or something to take out the mothership core, which is currently posing a major threat as Zerg has particularly bad anti-air. Meanwhile, we've got the Phoenix wandering around here. He's trying to just watch some probes and things die. Nothing really too interesting going on as we see the Zerg player expand his creep spread once more. Obviously, Zergs move quicker on creep spread, so it's worth getting that spread out as far across the map as possible. Meanwhile, we've got the Speedlings moving down here for DJHelium. These are becoming some sort of counter-attack. Against Lightsider here, as they just sort of nibble away at the back stalker there, although I don't think they'll be able to do too much damage as long as he blocks this off properly. Yeah, and absolutely, we're not going to be seeing any real pressure out of those lings there for DJHelium. So both players looking fairly even at this point. We're getting a burrow out now for DJHelium, as well as Glial Reconstruction, which is the Roach speed upgrades, as well as Tunneling Claws now as well from the Zerg player here. So it does look like we'll be seeing a heavy amount of Roaches here. We're also getting Ground Carapace and missile attacks as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some Swarm Hosts in this game. They're a pretty popular one if you bother going for the missile attacks first rather than moving on to the later game Ultras or something like that, or perhaps even Broodlords, I guess, are the other one that you bother getting the melee upgrade for. I mean, obviously it's useful for Zerglings, but primarily if you're going primarily into the missile attack upgrades, then you're building Roach Hydra is your typical sort of composition there. Meanwhile, out of the Protoss player here, Lightsider, we've got third base is completely finished now. That's looking really good for him. He's moving out with the base of his army, which is essentially Stalkers, Zealots, and a few sentries there. I did notice he got down a Robo before, which will allow him to build Immortals, which should be really, really good against the Roaches, as Stalkers aren't particularly great against a large amount of Roaches, as Stefano used to prove in his plays with his famous Roach Max, which completely broke Zerg versus Protoss for quite a period of time until the Immortal Sentry All-In became a thing. Meanwhile, we aren't going to see a third base coming down here from Helium, although it is going to be taken straight out here by Lightsider, who is actually now miles and miles ahead in this game. And this is really quite exciting here. It's actually like, because Helium can't see these under here, of course, so these might actually come up behind or amongst the troops of Lightsider here, and if they can pick off some of these sentries, that would be really, really useful against the force fields here, which sentries put down, and obviously control the movement of the Zerg player amongst that. Meanwhile, thinking in this engagement, I reckon we should see most of this army here for Protoss will be dying as he sort of tries to wall off the parts of it there to stop the Roaches chasing too easily. And as you can see here on the creep, the Roaches just absolutely race ahead of all the Protoss units there. They're very easy just taking out all the sentries there. And we're left with such a small amount of Stalkers now for Lightsider, our Protoss player. It's almost embarrassing, really, as that was really quite a fail attack. Although he does remain ahead on a third base, as DJHelium hasn't really done any particular damage to our Protoss player here, who is also actually getting more observers. He's getting observers out now for the vision for the roaches. We're seeing attack ground upgrades for him there, and we're seeing all sorts of pressure here as he comes in from 2 different angles here. And with Zealots warping into the front, we should be seeing the rest of these roaches cleared up as long as Lightsider here can carefully hold his position and not allow well, basically too much of a concave on his troops here. Although actually looking at the positions of the troops, and does look like Lightsider might be getting his forces cleared up here as the roaches do completely overwhelm Lightsider's troops now for DJHelium here. And it does look like DJHelium is actually going to be really struggling at this point, despite being ahead in economy. It's just the sheer lack of units at this stage is a real issue. Although, however, with the another ship core sat here in the background, that's going to be a constant source of damage for Lightsider here that DJHelium can't touch without getting any anti-air out, as obviously roaches can't shoot up. Meanwhile, this group of roaches at the back will be just tunneling directly under the force fields there, as which is basically the best reason for getting tunneling cores, I guess, is just getting under those force fields. Meanwhile, we're seeing Void Rays coming out now for Lightsider here, although actually that pylon, that Stargate was unpowered for so long there, which was really good play by DJHelium, taking out the couple of forward pylons there, as it meant that basically there was no power here in the Stargate, and the Void Rays couldn't be built. As DJHelium does now actually completely clear up the second base, really pretty much of any sort of probes. It's just this basic sort of nexus and production left there now. There's not really any economy from that base. As Lightsider's supply is falling and falling and falling here. He's now at half the supply of DJHelium. As Helium has actually managed to get a third base out now. He's getting his 2-2 up on his troops at home. And it's generally looking really positive here for Helium, as Lightsider here has managed to waste his little forward attack that he started with, and has completely moved in on has been completely moved in on by DJHelium here, with his mass roach push there. We're not actually seeing that much of a split amount of pressure here out of Helium. I would quite like to see some pressure on the third base, although actually with that many cannons there, it's quite difficult to really deal with that. And perhaps get some roaches at the front here, picking off these probes as they try and move out of the base. Although actually they're just going to be sitting in that second now. And while the main of Lightsider falls, DJHelium now is going to be actually struggling against the Void Ray, although just the sheer number of roaches that he's got, there's just not enough anti-units out for Lightsider here. Although as his mass cannon does finish up, it does look like I think this roach army might eventually fall, although the amount of damage it's going to do is pretty untold, as DJHelium does continue to macro up in the background. He's getting extra hatcheries down now. We're seeing Hydralisk dens coming out, and all kinds of fun stuff. Obviously Lightsider is having to rebuild his Cybernex core, which is never a good thing for any Protoss player to have to do. Is he'd lose all of his main base tech here, as the last of the roaches are now just about to get cleaned up here for Lightsider. And to be honest, this attack has been really strong here for Helium. To be honest, I kind of wish that once he'd seen these cannons come down, like this air troops come out, perhaps he'd maybe just pulled away and tried to maybe pick off a building or something and just run off, because I don't know if keeping those troops there was really that good. He's sort of put himself behind in that respect, as he now doesn't have any sort of army. He has to rebuild the whole thing behind that. Although actually this fourth base is now getting warped in on with this pylon here, and this Zealot should be having a pretty fun time with attacking this base. Although I'm not actually... Can a single Zealot take out a base? I'm not sure. It's not going to matter, as 3 more Zealots are warped in. We've got a bunch of Stalkers coming up as well. So this fourth base shouldn't be surviving here for DJHelium, as he doesn't really have any particular troops. He's getting roaches out, although they're not finished yet. We don't really have anything in the way of an army there for him, do we? We've got 6 Hydralisks, 5 roaches now, and a Ling. Nothing really much to talk about, as the fourth base there does fall for DJHelium. So so in the turned out to be quite a longer macro game here now. I thought we might get some early pressure out of Lightsider, and while he did come up with a relatively cool little attack at the start there, it did fall pretty quickly. And we're going to see the Phoenixes now moving in here for Lightsider, and this is pretty exciting, because these should be able to take out some of the Queens, assuming they can stay away from these Spore Crawlers, which they're just going to drive straight on top of. So that's the end of that brief amount of pressure there for Lightsider. We're not seeing any further late game tech out of DJHelium at all. He's not moving towards Hive or anything like that at all. I don't think he's got an infestation pit out yet. I've not seen one. We're only really seeing Hydralisk dens and the various sort of crap out now. We're also seeing a fourth base there coming down on the right hand side here once again for DJHelium, as he just try and move forward into the third base. I reckon he'll be going for DJHelium, moving forward for Lightsider. He supply blocked himself there briefly, but it does look like he should be able to clear this up as long as he can get his troops engaged. Although actually with these force fields here, it's a real struggle for the Zerg player to get all his troops in there. And that was actually a really nice little engagement there for Lightsider, as he picked off a good few of the Hydras, which are the main damage dealers of the Zerg army at this point. And the roaches are really there to just soak up as much damage as possible. And I mean, they deal a bit extra damage on top of what the Hydras do, but the Hydras are the DPS units. They're much weaker in terms of health, but they're much stronger in terms of the amount of damage that they can output, especially with these muscular augment upgrades and also the range upgrade, which just makes them way more viable than they ever were before. As DJHelium does now move down to the third base here of Lightsider, and I can't really see how Lightsider is actually going to stop this. I mean, yeah, he's got some troops down, but there's actually so much DPS here for DJHelium, as the Void Ray will be falling behind this, and the roaches should be able to clear up pretty much everything else, as long as they're not allowed to engage too many things at once. We are seeing the cannons clear up quite a large number here, though. And it's actually a relatively even battle here. We don't really have any vision here for DJHelium though, so the observers will be sitting quite comfortably on top of there, and anything that's burrowed will be just straight up picked off. Although I'm actually seeing a lot of use of burrow here out of DJHelium. This is really quite exciting now, because although I was going to say, although DJHelium's managed to get a fourth base out, I did feel that Lightsider might stand a chance of staying in this if he can just defend these bases and keep mining. But no, Lightsider GG's out of the game, and yeah, so DJHelium there with ends the game with 2.5 times the supply of Lightsider. So I guess it was actually completely over for Lightsider, really, looking back at that now. I mean, yeah, he's got all the tech he could need now. He's got his main base up again, but he's just got no probes. I'm not entirely sure. If we just have a look, yeah, we had 29 workers killed for Helium versus the 14 for Lightsider. So that was quite an effective attack there out of DJHelium against Lightsider here. So yeah, that was another Masters League game, ZVP. I've been RedRipz, your Dreadlock caster, and once again another good game. So thanks for watching, and GG to both players.